Here is a bit of wisdom from your Uncle Cooper. Tires exist on a spectrum. On one end, you got too much tire. On the other, you don't get enough. Both ends are rip-offs. You're either paying for more than you need or needing more even after you pay. So if you want a tire that costs what tires should cost and does what tires should do, go right for the sweet spot. Go with the Coopers. Cooper!
At TopCon, we know a thing or two about a smooth surface. Roads and highways, piece of cake. Airports, let's just say it'll be the smoothest landing you've ever had. But what about when you want to go fast? Real fast? No, faster. We've helped cars go faster than they've ever gone before. Broken a few lap records along the way. Want the best paving performance? Go to the source. TopCon, always one step ahead.
As is so often the case here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca, the morning haze has burned off, and above the track now, beautiful blue skies. Gorgeous day here right now, 64 degrees trackside. Welcome, folks, to qualifying for race number 1 of the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires, and welcome to the IndyCar Radio Network here on SiriusXM and the Road to Indy app. Great to have everyone with us here. We are into the stretch run for Indy Lights. 4 more races remain. Qualifying, of course, that bonus point up for grabs. So crucial in a championship as tight as the one we have right now. And we are looking forward to seeing who steps up after a 45-minute practice session this morning. My name's Rob Howden, the Road to Indy official commentator. Thrilled to be here again at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, capping off the West Coast swing for the Indy Lights drivers, the very top level of this Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. Of course, Indy Lights also on track last weekend at Portland International Raceway. Our 2 championship combatants splitting the race wins. David Malukas winning race 1, and Kyle Kirkwood coming back with a fantastic pass in the Festival Curves to win race number 2. They come into the event here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, separated by just 5 points. 4 races left to go as we cap the season in 2 weeks at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. $1.25 million on the line. The champion taking that scholarship from the Road to Indy. And moving to the NTT IndyCar Series in 2022, that program worth 3 races in the series, including a shot at trying to qualify for the Indianapolis 500. Earlier today, as I said, 57 degrees this morning for what was a session at 10 after 10, 45-minute run. Devlin DeFrancesco from Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport was the fastest driver, a 1:16.360, eerily close to the time set by Oliver Askew in the opening practice session 2 years ago, back in 2019, as he was en route to a championship run. Kyle Kirkwood, the Andretti driver, in the second spot, a 1:16.370, back by just 9 thousandths of a second. So the Andretti team with a pretty solid setup. Rasmus Lindh for Juncos Racing made his debut in Indy Lights last weekend in Portland, and great to have him with us here again, running for Juncos Hollinger Racing. Last year, 2 years ago, 2019, was the Indy Pro 2000 runner-up and was actually a winner here that year as well. So this particular facility, Laguna Seca, a good one for Rasmus Lindh, and not surprising, very comfortable his second weekend in the car with Juncos Hollinger, and was the 3rd quickest driver, back by just over 2.5 tenths of a second. David Malukas, your point leader in the number 79 for HMD Motorsports, was fourth on the timesheet after the morning session, and Linus Lundqvist, his teammate and a winner of 2 races this year, now currently was in the 5th spot. Daniel Frost was 6th, Benjamin Peterson was 7th, Robert McGinnis 8th, Stingray Robb 9th, Manuel Suleiman 10th, and Christian Bogle for Carlin Racing was in the 11th spot. 11 drivers set to go around this 2.238 mile 11 turn road course, and again a quicker 30-minute session. Interesting, of course, in the morning session, 45 minutes long. The teams all with 4 sets of fresh Cooper tires at their disposal and the 1 carryover set from the event that we had at Portland. The teams using that carryover for the practice session this morning, and kind of playing into just the nature of this particular racetrack. None of the drivers going to fresh tires, no qualifying simulations at all in the morning practice. They just essentially burned down those tires from Portland. This track notoriously tough on tires, and so it is going to be key to see which teams potentially could save a fresh set for one of the races here this weekend. Green flag is flown here at start finish. Our official starter of the Road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, Aaron Likens, giving them the green flag, and the drivers heading out for qualifying. Talking to a few people, what I'm expecting to see: 2 fresh sets of tires used for both qualifying runs. They'll put the fresh set on right now, all rolling out there on stickers. Do a qualifying simulation, see what the car feels like at that point, get the feedback from the driver, make some minor adjustments, or what maybe you could make major adjustments with the time, but make some adjustments, go back to fresh tires sometime later in the session, get out there and knock them out. Obviously, the tires that you've used for your initial qualifying sim, very likely using them for a longer period and potentially to start the session for qualifying for race 2 in the morning. We do have ourselves a really tremendous weekend for you, a couple of great races set to go. And again, those of you know, tomorrow we get started at 9:45 a.m. Pacific time for qualifying for race 2. The first wheel-to-wheel action of the weekend for Indy Lights, 12:45 Pacific for a 35-lapper around this very challenging track at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. As I said before, coming into the points, 3 winners on the season: David Malukas and Kyle Kirkwood with 7 apiece, 2 wins for Linus Lundqvist, and a 5-point advantage for Malukas coming into this race here. Race number 17 is at 17 and 18 this weekend, 19 and 20 in 2 weeks' time at Mid-Ohio. Points up for grabs, 128 total on the cap of the season here, but only 5 points separate first and second. Those of you watching the broadcast, we got some live video where we were riding on board with Manuel Suleiman, driver from Mexico for HMD Motorsports, took over the number 59 that was previously driven earlier this season by Nikita Lastashkin. Nikita capping off his season short on budget to end the season, but will work his tail off to attempt to get back here in 22 rather. Nikita was very impressive throughout the season, and looking forward to him coming back for a full season next year. One of the drivers who has worked his way through the entire road to Indy, meaning he started in the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship, spent years there, moved to the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, presented by Cooper Tires, and then, of course, into Indy Lights this year as a rookie. Drivers just starting to get things underway, and again, a 30-minute session. I look forward to seeing what happens late in the run. Cars will, of course, be lower on fuel. That's one of the things about the initial session here earlier today. You just didn't know who came out with lots of fuel. Did they have to put fuel in? Did they run low tanks, low weight? Always a bit of a crapshoot in terms of the practice session like that. Officially now into time session for qualifying. No messing around here. I've always found fascinating what it takes to go quick in a qualifying run. It's simply not getting out there and banging out laps. Just lap after lap trying to get that one perfect. Now, when you put fresh tires on and you're getting ready to go for that qualifying run late in this run after making the changes you've made, let's get back to that. We've actually been told that Manuel Suleiman went off somewhere. Let's have a quick look here. We had the onboard camera with him, but we're going to get a replay. Here's Manuel coming, I believe, at a turn number 3. Yeah, just got a little wide coming out there. Through 3 over to 4. We've seen that happen before, and Manuel Suleiman off the racetrack. pushing early on cold tires. That's not what you want to do when you're on an initial qualifying run on those fresh tires. So Manuel, a little harsh coming through turn number 3 and 4, went off the racetrack there, turn 4. It's the 3-4 combination. After you come through turn 1 and 2, which is the downhill, turn 2 is the downhill hard left-hander, the back-to-back right-hands turns 3 and 4 leads over to turn 5, which is that crucial part of the corner because it leads all the way up through turn 6, which is unbelievably quick, all the way back up the Rahal straight to 7 and 8, and of course 8A, 8 and 8A being the corkscrew. But back to qualifying. So everything has to come together for a strong qualifying run. The team, of course, has set the tires. Maybe you've made some adjustments. You got to hit the exact right tire pressure because that tire pressure is going to grow to the point where it's perfect right when you're at the maximum grip for the actual tire itself. That magic window when the tire is giving the right amount of grip, the right amount of heat, the tire pressure's right. The team has got to get the driver out onto the track, or the drivers have to at least manipulate where they are on the racetrack to make sure that they're not going to catch up to any slower car. If you get up to a guy behind you and you can't go flat out, you may lose some of the air off the front wing and get a bit of aero push. You have to have open racetrack. And again, everything has to be perfect. You want to match this up when the fuel load is at its absolute lowest, so the car is as light as it possibly can be. And when all those factors align, the driver then has to go out and put the magic lap down. They've got to get the job done as well. So many parts of the equation. I remember sitting down with Ricardo Juncos from Juncos Hollinger Racing, and he kind of laid that out to me a couple of years ago, and it was really an eye-opener for me although you understand it, to have someone put it into words like that, to realize everything it takes to put down that magic qualifying lap. It's all got to happen. The stars have to align. Everything that you've worked hard for has to come together. And then, of course, as I said, the driver then needs to not make a mistake. And you'll hear that a lot, especially during the NTT IndyCar Series qualifying sessions with their program, when the drivers who didn't make the Fast 12 or the Fast 6 talk to the guys from IndyCar Radio, and they'll say straight up that they just simply didn't maximize the reds when they needed to be able to get full advantage of the car being light and the tires being exactly at the right optimum temperature and the pressures are where they need to be. If the driver doesn't now optimize, then that's the issue you're going to have. Right now, Kyle Kirkwood on top of the 1:15.600. About 0.3 quicker than we were earlier today. The temperature about 7 degrees warmer. It was 57 earlier today, 64 now trackside. Beautiful day here with a light breeze here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna, Seca. Penultimate round of the Indy Lights program for 2021. Kyle Kirkwood P1, David Malukas now in second. The two championship combatants, 1 and 2. But again, drivers just starting to kind of dial things in. Kyle Kirkwood, as we said, down to a 1:15.6. 0.7 quicker than the fast lap this morning by Devlin DeFrancesco in the Power Tap hydrogen machine for Andretti Steinbrenner Autosport. Kirkwood, Malukas, DeFrancesco, Lundqvist, and Rasmuth Lind, current top 5. Long way to go still in the session. Still 22 minutes, and again, we expect another run to the pits. Drivers getting out there on their first set of fresh Cooper tires, getting a feel for what the car will do. Because remember, no one did that in this morning's 45-minute session. So nobody on this particular track day, the guys have tested here before, but on this particular weekend with the rubber we have down from the NASA category as well, no one's had a chance to run here on fresh tires. So this will be the first, essentially, sighting laps to get a feel for what this race car is going to be like. Come back in, make some changes, of course, after debriefing with the crew. The engineers will go over the data a little bit, make a couple of changes. Normally you'll see the front and the rear cowl come off the engine cover and the front shock cover. Do some potential adjustments to the damper. Ride height, obviously something that they work with significantly through practice sessions. You want the car as low as you possibly can, but you don't want it to bottom out. One of the things about this racetrack is the crest coming over the corkscrew and getting hard back down on it. This car is going to need a little bit more travel in terms of suspension, just simply because of the characteristics of the racetrack. Kirkwood still on top of the 1:15.600. Track record of 1:14.232. Max Chilton set that back in 2015, the debut of the Dallara IL-15 chassis 6 years ago. A little bit different lineup with it now with the halo that we have on the race car. Obviously a lot more weight to the car itself. That weight a little bit higher up, the center of gravity higher in terms of where that weight sits on the race car. So the teams throughout the season have been dealing with that and adjusting their setups accordingly. On board here with Suleiman through turn number 5. Got to get out of that corner cleanly. That's essentially the start of the back straightaway as you roll through turn number 6 here, a very high commitment corner at this particular facility. Back up over the top of the hill, the highest point of this racetrack before you plunge down through the corkscrew. Turn 8 and 8A, back down through the very quick rainy curve, that sweeping left-hander. Another high commitment corner. See drivers go off the racetrack to drivers right there occasionally. Back down on the brakes here into turn number 9 and 10. Passing opportunity in turn 11, another crucial corner. Got to get the car rotated back on the power quickly. Hard braking, a hard impact on brakes at the very initial. Then you got to roll off that brake to let the car get back to the corner, take that set so you can get back onto the throttle. And of course, this long run through the kinking turn number 1 back down into turn number 2. Manuel Suleiman currently in the 10th position at 117.313. 2/10 quicker than he turned earlier today. We know that Suleiman pushing very hard, went off earlier on the exit of turn number 4, heading back to 5. Kirkwood still on top of the 1:15.660. Theoretical best time based on the segment times we've seen out of all the drivers. Kirkwood about a 1:15.3 if you put together all 3 of his segment times. I like the addition of that theoretical best to show you kind of the difference between what a driver's able to put down and what they actually can, because obviously putting all 3 of your segments down on 1 lap is not the easiest thing to do. Minor miscue here and there. You could have the best pace in the opening segment, but just a minor issue in the second segment is going to drop you down a little bit. So Kirkwood really only about 3/10 off his theoretical best. Linus Lundqvist has worked his way up into second in the number 22. Lundqvist, 2 times a winner this year, scoring victories at Barber Motorsports Park and on the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Currently 3rd in the points, 73 points back, and 73 points ahead at 4th place, Benjamin Peterson, his teammate. Devlin DeFrancesco was the fastest this morning in the number 17 P3. Daniel Frost in 4th and David Malukas in 5th. Again, we say hello to those of you tuning in to the Road to Indy app or potentially IndyLights.com, or of course listening on Sirius XM 205. The entire IndyCar Radio Network crew will be back on Saturday and Sunday. Nick Yeoman handling the anchoring duties of both IndyCar and Indy Lights here this weekend. Davey Hamilton, Jake Query, Michael Young on board for the corners, the turns. Dan Ruzanowski, myself, and Alex Wolf patrolling pit lane this particular weekend here. It will be a tremendous weekend of competition. Stretch run for both the Road to Indy and, of course, the IndyCar Series with Long Beach coming up. Kirkwood, Lundqvist, DeFrancesco, Frost, and Malukas. Still 17 minutes remaining. Got to expect some drivers and potentially into the pits soon. Now, this is where you roll the dice as well. This is interesting that Kirkwood right now is a half a second quicker than Lundqvist. So the Andretti driver Kirkwood, Lundqvist for Global Racing Group with HMD Motorsports. And the key is this: is there an opportunity to save a fresh set of tires for one of the races later? If you've got good speed and you're up front, you can roll the dice using potentially just 1 set of tires during qualifying. You're going to save a fresh set for one of the races, and that normally reserved for someone who's up front. This is a tough place to pass. There's not a lot of overtaking opportunities. A lot of times it can get processional a little bit unless drivers can find ways to push their competitors into mistakes. Of course, we do have the push to pass for Indy Lights with 50 more horsepower, and it's only used offensively, not defensively, so that should come into play here in Indy Lights. But qualifying is important, not only the bonus point, but you qualify up front, more than likely you're going to get a good quality finish. And I think for Kirkwood, if he's able to hold a half a second advantage, no one challenges him, he may do a single set. Kirkwood, of course, 5 points back coming into the championship fight. If indeed the championship were to end tied in terms of points, we go to race wins. Well, right now, both Kirkwood and Malukas both have 7 victories on the season. The tiebreaker would go to second place finishes, and Kirkwood actually leads that 4-2. Again, still 4 more races to go to keep tying things up. We'll see how it all plays out. But it's really interesting to see how similar the seasons of David Malukas and Kyle Kirkwood are. Yeah, they're 5 points apart, but listen to this. Both drivers with 7 wins, both drivers with 14 top 5 finishes, and both drivers have only finished outside the top 5 on 2 occasions. Really strong mid to second set of the season push for Kyle Kirkwood. He's only been off the podium once in the last 10 races, and that includes 6 race wins and 9 second place finishes. So he's been in the top 2 9 of the last 10 races. And the crazy thing is the race that he wasn't, he finished 12th. It was a mechanical failure on the car. One of the camber shims, I believe, popped out. Of course, at Road America, making it very, very tough to control the race car. He was leading at that point. So there's an opportunity he could have won 6 in a row and been on the podium or first and second for the last 10 races. So this has been a great run here for Kyle Kirkwood to get back on what was a really strong start to the season for David Malukas. And indeed, wholesale run into the pits right now. Only driver still on the racetrack is Daniel Frost, and actually Christian Bogle out there as well. So at essentially the halfway points, 16 minutes down, 14 minutes to go. And we have drivers coming into pit lane. It's time to make adjustments. Quick debrief with the engineers. Maybe a plan to make a minor adjustment. Tire pressure for sure. All you're trying to do is just get that little bit more. Kyle Kirkwood now half a second quicker. He's very happy with that number 28 Andretti Autosport machine. Linus Lundqvist in second, Devlin DiFrancesco third, Daniel Frost now into pit lane P4, and David Malukas in fifth. Benjamin Peterson sixth, seventh is Robert McGinnis, eighth Rasmus Lint, who was third earlier today, so they'll have to make another adjustment there. Lint a full second back. He was only 2/10 off of DiFrancesco this morning, so Lint will be looking for a major adjustment. Stingray Robb is now in ninth, Manuel Suleiman 10th, and Christian Bogle in 11th, as Bogle now in pit lane as well. So all 11 drivers on pit lane, 13 minutes remaining, and now it's time to see what we have in terms of a qualifying shootout. 1:15.600 for Kyle Kirkwood. He is now 0.5 of a second quicker than Linus Lundqvist. Devlin DiFrancesco back by 0.6. Both Frost and Malukas 0.7 back. Those two drivers separated by just 1,000th of a second. Benjamin Peterson and Robert McGinnis both 0.9 of a second back. And then, as I said, it's Lind, Robb, Suleiman, and Bogle. A quiet racetrack, but not a quiet pit lane. All 11 drivers in, and adjustments now being made. Hard to see from my vantage point, but I can see at least a couple of engine cowls coming off, and that means rear adjustment, whether it's to the dampers or ride height. And all the drivers here in this Indy Lights program all focus on trying to get themselves into the big show, the NTT IndyCar Series. The champion will go there next year with a $1.25 million scholarship, following in the footsteps of Colton Herta and Jack Harvey and Pato O'Ward and Oliver Askew and Renus VK, Felix Rosenquist, the drivers who have moved up over the last number of years. Max Chilton, of course, one of the drivers raced in Formula One, came over to run Indy Lights to get himself acclimated to American motorsports, and coming over with Carlin Racing to take a shot at the championship the opening year of the new Dallara IL-15 back in 2015. He was able to show well, and again remains, Max Chilton does, the track record holder here for Indy Lights with a 1:14.232. Driver still 1.2 seconds off of that. Manuel Suleiman again in the number 59 machine. He has the onboard camera throughout this weekend for HMD Motorsports. His second weekend in Indy Lights, and ideally we'll see Manuel for a full season in 2022. Running with HMD Motorsports, as I said, had a strong run at Portland. Qualified 4th and 5th. Actually, no, qualified 4th and 9th, not 5th. 4th in the opening round, 9th in race number 2. 6th place finish in race number 1, so a good start for him. Let's see what Manuel has this particular weekend. A race winner in Indy Pro 2000 last year. And again, as I had said earlier here, that trying to make that statement early, Kyle Kirkwood, does he make the changes? Can he sit on pit lane? Does he decide to go back out? Half a second faster as he literally rocked away. Devlin DeFrancesco was a 1:16.3 in the morning session. He's done a 1:16.2, so he went a 10th quicker. Linus Lundqvist, 1:16.7 down to a 1:16.1. He found 0.6 of a second. Kirkwood going from a 1:16.3 down to a 1:15.6. 0.7 for Kirkwood, half second faster. That's a statement made, no doubt about that, to start this qualifying session off. Just 5 points back in the points. Kirkwood trying to continue that charge with the hiatus of the Indy Lights program in 2020. We have our last 2 Indy Pro 2000 champions in the field, both with the scholarships. Both Kyle Kirkwood, the champion from Indy Pro in 2019, and Stingray Robb, champion from 2020 in this field. Kirkwood, though, right now, the all-time Road to Indy race win leader at 27 victories. He's also trying to line up to be the only driver to ever win all 3 scholarships in a row. He won the USF 2000 championship back in 2018. He won the Indy Pro 2000 championship 2019, and looking to try to win this Indy Lights championship here this year in 2021. All right, so drivers rolling out now from HMD Motorsports. Out goes Stingray Robb as well. Christian Bogle in the Pelican-sponsored Carlin number 7. Rasmuth Lint in that trademark white and green, number 51 for Juncos Hollinger Racing. Here comes the 79 of David Malukas in the HMD trucking machine. The Power Tap Hydrogen Kamoa Jones Soda number 17 of Devlin DeFrancesco, that vibrant yellow. White, black, and red Denjet number 68 rolling out as well for Daniel Frost. The Sirius Data Robot number 27 for Robert McGinnis coming out as well. I don't know that we saw Kirkwood yet. I think he still remains. No, here he's coming. So I was wondering if he was going to sit back on a half a second advantage. He is not. Kirkwood's going to roll out here. The Construction Contractors Club Road to Indy Anderson Promotions machine. Of course, the scholarship for Kyle Kirkwood this year after winning that championship 2 years ago. Seven and a half minutes remaining. This is the beauty of qualifying. This is when you have to drop the hammer. Drivers finally getting a feel for this particular racetrack and their cars and the setup on the fresh sticker Coopers. We're not able to do that this morning. No one going on fresh tires in the 45-minute practice session this morning. Everybody electing to hold on to the warmer temperatures here. Again, as I said, 64 degrees trackside. Well, they've had a feel for what the car is going to do. Now, have they made the right decisions? Has the input that they've been able to give their engineers resulted in the right adjustments? As I said, we saw front and rear engine cowls come up. You can obviously adjust ride height, adjust the dampers. Of course, the front and rear wing as well for aero balance. One point on the line, the bonus for qualifying on the pole, and of course giving yourself the opportunity to be the first driver into turn 1 and 2. We go racing tomorrow. 12:45 is when we'll get things rolling. If you're watching on the Road to Indy TV app, we'll have our pre-show very likely earlier in, probably, I want to say somewhere around 12:15. Command to start engines at 12:40. Green flag for a 30-lapper for round number 17 at 12:45 Pacific time tomorrow afternoon. Drivers, again, have to get things done right here in this tighter time limit. Earlier in that session, when you're on that first run on tires, you know you got more time. You got the full half hour. You can kind of settle in, get a feel for the car a little bit. It's put up or shut up time now, though. 5 minutes remaining. Does anybody have anything for Kirkwood? A 1:15.6009. Top time for Kyle Kirkwood, the young American out of Jupiter, Florida. A lot of eyes on him throughout his career. Won 4 junior Formula championships, not only USF 2000 and Indy Pro, but also won the F4 and F3 championships. People definitely keeping an eye out on Kyle Kirkwood. Can he get it done here today? Tighten that championship up even more, potentially take the lead moving into Sunday. David Malukas will have something to say about that for sure. But he's got to find some speed. He's currently P5. That would be the inside of row number 3. And that's kind of back in that zone where you can see some chaos. Drivers start getting a little more aggressive. And to his credit, jumping now up to P2. David Malukas and the number 79 now up to second. Driver to Chicago. 1:16.043. Still 4/10 back. First driver, though, to make an impact in terms of the new tires. Daniel Frost finds a bit of speed too, 1:16.216. Robert McGinn is one of the drivers with some significant experience here as well. Raced here in the USF 2000 program back in 2016, a couple of 8th place finishes. In 2019, 3rd and 4th in the 2 races. So McGinnis does have significant seat time here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Kirkwood quicker, 1:15.352, but Lundqvist goes 1:15.4. Yeah, no one's sitting on their laurels now. Lundqvist a second by only 0.04 of a second. Malukas back by 0.6 in total as Kirkwood and Lundqvist 1 and 2. Let's see what Malukas has on this next lap. Rasmus Lind up into 3rd where he was after the morning session, drops to 4th as Malukas now goes to 3rd, but Lind within a half a second. Malukas back by just over 1/10 now. Still Kirkwood on top trying to grab that bonus point. Linus Lundqvist would be able to do a service to his teammate if he's able to get up over Kirkwood, steal that bonus point back for himself. And as I had said earlier in the practice session, there's enough points up for grabs that Lundqvist is not out of it still. Kirkwood and Malukas would have to have disastrous finishes over the final 4 races, but the mathematical chance is still there. Kirkwood, though, turns a new quick lap, 1:15.24. Still a full second off the track record set by Max Chilton back in 2015. Chilton's record still standing. Kirkwood, Lundqvist, Malukas, Frost, and Lind, the Fast 5, 0.6 separate the top 5 drivers. DeFrancesco, quickest this morning, now in the 6th spot. 1:16 flat, 0.3 quicker than he turned earlier, but Kirkwood over a second faster, 1.1 seconds faster than he was this morning. He goes down to a 1:15.249. Kirkwood now with about 1/10 of a half cushion. Minute 45 to go. This is what I talked about earlier in the session. Fuel starting to get down. Lighter car, quicker car. When are the tires coming into that exact right zone? This track is notoriously tough on tires. Looks like Rasmuth Lind off the pace. He slows a bit coming over the hill. So that could be it for Rasmuth. He's P5 right now, and he's off the power, so I think that'll be it for Rasmuth Lind. No one's saving a set of tires here in this particular session. We'll see what happens in qualifying 2 tomorrow morning, but Kirkwood still on top, and he goes quicker still. 1:15.023 for Kirkwood, now 0.3 faster than Lundqvist. Kirkwood, Lundqvist, Malukas, Frost, and Lind, the fast 5. Linus Lundqvist, again, another good lap. .30 seconds to go, final laps. Again, this is the balance. Are the tires still providing enough grip to be able to leverage and take advantage of the lower fuel load? Drivers seem to be pretty well spaced out on track. No one worried about closing up on a slower car, getting that potential aero wash. Think about that, losing air off the front wing, coming down through the ultra quick turn 9 rainy curve. No, you want full aerodynamic advantage coming through that particular part of the corner. So high commitment. Checker flag being thrown here, so on the alternative timeline, which is before they turn into pit in, coming out of turn at number 10. This will be it, final circuit. That's it for Manuel Suleiman. He'll head to pit lane as well. Suleiman currently in the 9th spot. Kirkwood on top still by 0.3. Lundqvist doesn't do it. 1:15.401 for Lundqvist, back by 0.378. Kirkwood looking very good now. Peterson doesn't have it. Malukas still on the racetrack, and he put a flyer down, 1:15.4. He'd have to find almost a half a second. And he does not do it. David Malukas in the number 79, I believe, now into pit lane. Indeed, he's done. He does not get the job done. So just a couple more drivers still on the racetrack. We'll wait for them to come into pit lane. Rasmus Lind is going to wrap up in 6th position. Kyle Kirkwood, 1:15.0235, almost 0.4 quicker, and he is out of the car. Kyle Kirkwood shaking the hand of the team. That is huge. It was a 5-point lead coming into the weekend, make it 4 points now with a 1 bonus point for Kyle Kirkwood. Not only 1 for him, I always say it's kind of a 2-point swing. You don't think of it that way, but he takes the 1 point instead of Malukas. So really, it would be a 2-point swing when you steal that bonus point away from your primary competition. Kirkwood, you can see the smile there. Great way to start off the weekend here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. He'll, of course, accept the check as well for the pole win. Kyle Kirkwood on the pole for race number 1 tomorrow afternoon. Linus Lundqvist in that 2nd spot. He'll be on the outside of the row 1. There it is, $2,500. The pole sitter for race number 1, Kyle Kirkwood from Andretti Autosport. Lundqvist will start to 2nd on the outside of row 1. David Malukas and Benjamin Peterson on row number 2. Once again, HMD Motorsports putting 3 drivers in the top 4. Daniel Frost and Rasmus Lind will be on row number 3. Excellent job for Rasmus in the number 51 for Juncos Hollinger Racing as he goes to 6th. Devlin DeFrancesco in 7th. Robert McGinnis 8th. Manuel Suleiman 9th. Stingray Robin 10th. And Christian Bogle rounding out the field of 11 drivers that we have here this weekend in the Indy Lights program. And once again, great job for Kirkwood to get the job done early. All right, folks, we actually have Georgia Henneberry down on pit lane. Let's get some input here from your pole sitter, Kyle Kirkwood.
Well, it is his 5th pole of the season, Kyle Kirkwood. And Kyle, it's clear you're carrying that momentum over into Portland.
Yeah, I mean, we had that win at Portland. We had a test here prior to season, and we thought everything was going to be great. And it translated. We got the setup perfect. Our car is absolutely amazing in qualifying, but we haven't done any long running to really know where our race car is at. But we're pretty confident with what we have currently, and it's a good way to start the weekend. You
were on top all session. How comfortable you are in this 28?
Very, very, very comfortable. Our Andretti 28 car, like I said, is absolutely on rails. It seems almost effortless. I was able to get a lap time, and then another one, and then another one, and then I knew exactly where the tires were at just after that, and I knew that's all we had. But it was a half second and 0.4 in the second run, so I'm super happy with that.
Well, he got that win in Portland, and he is continuing on with that momentum. Kyle Kirkwood will sit on the pole for race number 1 in the Indy Lights Series.
Thank you so much, Georgia. And that is exactly what the other drivers did not want to hear, the term effortless. That's what Kyle Kirkwood said about that particular session. The 28 locked down to the racetrack, very comfortable in that race car. You know that opening lap, what he's able to do on cold tires on the opening lap for the race tomorrow afternoon is going to be crucial. Going to want to get out of the gate, try to get a couple of race wins. And he's done it a couple times this year where he's actually been able to sweep the weekends. Did so in Detroit, did so at Mid-Ohio as well. If he can do it here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, it is definitely going to put him in the catbird seat when we head to the season finale on October 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Once again, folks, more racing still to come, as I said, but done here right now, trackside for Indy Lights. We'll be back at 9:45 tomorrow morning, qualifying for race number 2. Race number 1, though, 12:45 Pacific time, and of course, the IndyCar Radio Network back at it once again with the anchor Nick Yeoman. We'll have Davey Hamilton, the driver analyst. In the corners will be Jake Query and Michael Young, and I'll be on pit lane joined by Alex Wolf. Looking forward to seeing what kind of racing we have throughout this remainder of the weekend. 2 more races and 1 more qualifying still to come here from the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tires here at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. The stretch run is on. 4 more races to go. Kyle Kirkwood drawing first blood, though, as he qualifies on the pole for race number 1. On behalf of everyone from IndyCar Radio, my name's Rob Howden. Bye for now.
As your uncle, I want you to know that on the road of life, there will be rough spots, and they will chew up your tires. I recently took a road trip to Greensville to attend a chili cook-off. Rough roads all the way down. I drove there on these Cooper Discoverer and Duramax tires. You know, they're made with the durability of off-road tires, but for on-road driving. Without them, we might never know the winning bean-to-meat ratio of a good chili. And those are the things in life, my friend, worth driving towards. So go with the Coopers. Cooper! I'm hungry now.
With over 40 years in business, High Tide Boat Lifts is committed to elevating your craft. Whether you own a personal watercraft or a large yacht, we can design and create the perfect lift for your needs. At High Tide Boat Lifts, we understand that you've worked hard to get to a successful place in life. We'll ensure you have a hassle-free experience, maximizing the time you spend on your boat with family and friends, and supporting your dreams out on the open water.